Welcome to the Reboot Chronicles, connecting you to the world's top leaders and CEOs rebooting their organizations and themselves with revealing stories to help you prosper in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBias, and as a serial CEO who's led dozens of companies that created thousands of jobs and billions in revenue, my passion is uncovering powerful lessons that can inspire you to reboot your organization, your career, and your life. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com. I'd like to welcome Peter McKay to the Reboot Chronicles. He is the CEO of Snyk, the leading developer security platform that flags issues to the world's top developers as they code, including previous Reboot Chronicles guests Intuit, Google, and Salesforce. One of the fastest growing companies who has raised over $1 billion in capital, Snyk is a unicorn who has been on a growth tear that is outpacing the market. Peter has rebooted Snyk from a tiny company into a market maker and leading it toward becoming what I think is going to be a $1 billion public company. Peter, good to see you.
Good. Nice to see you, Dean. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always good to see a serial CEO on the program. We love talking about how you came in and rebooted. How many have you done now?
5.
Yeah, number 5. I'm up to about a dozen. But we've had a lot of the top cybersecurity CEOs on, really, including the cloud ones that are just way different and taking a different approach. But you guys are totally different. It's not like security tools for the enterprise, but developer tools that embed security. So what's that mean?
Yeah, it's, a lot of billions and billions of dollars have been spent on kind of securing enterprises in production or in runtime, like when they're live. And so the concept of Snyk was to take all the things that were done after the fact and bring them kind of left or earlier in the software development lifecycle. And so it's like, I always like to use this analogy like a Word document. When you're typing a Word document, you're spell check and grammar check as you go, and you're fixing them as you go. Well, it's the same concept of Snyk. As the developer is writing, building these applications, we're checking it along the way and fixing the issues as you go. So when you're ready to go into production, it's all clean. It's free of vulnerabilities. And so hackers cannot exploit those applications. So we kind of view ourselves as like a hacker in a box. We test for thousands and thousands of issues in it that a hacker would use to try to get access to your information. And we're testing that as you're building it. So it's develop fast, but stay secure at the same time.
That's brilliant. I just have a flashback. My first CEO gig was a games company, which we ended up selling to. We ended up selling it to AOL, became the AOL Games Channel. But the developers hated me because I'd just stay up in the middle of the night with my kids, and we would just crank on the code and do what we used to call QA. So I'm curious in this, Gen AI, now agentic AI will come up with something new next month. But, this decentralized developer coding. All right, so speeds are way up, meaning we're producing 30 to 50% more faster. But what about the quality of the code? Is there QA anymore, or is that you? Or are we getting on the reason I bring it up is it's when you start throwing AI onto code that's been developed by AI, are we spiraling up or spiraling down? How's that?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting phase. The way we looked at, when companies were building, used to write their own software, they were very focused on, quality. And part of that is application security issues, which is just like another bug, right? You don't wait till you're in production to fix a bug in your software. You fix it early, and security is no different. You fix it early, and so whenever we would come up with a fix, developers were like, "Whoa, you can't just automatically do that.
Exactly.
I have to review it and make sure it's okay, and it's not going to break the build." And so, but what's funny is in the agentic or the AI world, where we can automatically fix all these, they're fine with it. So go ahead, generate as much code as you want, empower developers to develop really fast, and they're less focused on the security or the quality of it because they're sacrificing some element of that for speed. And I think this is kind of the debate, the challenge with executives, C-level people in companies is everybody is trying to get more productivity out of their people, out of their across the board, not just developers, but across the board. And so the speed and the productivity is so compelling that it's like, go, just go. We'll worry about quality and we'll worry about security later. So it's a very much like this little bit of the Wild West of just generate more software, work off that backlog faster and faster and faster. And I think there will be, like the cloud era, everybody just threw all these applications to the cloud and then they thought about security after. It's going to be the same with generative AI, right? It's like, okay, we just produce 40% more code. And the code that's being generated is 30-40% more flawed, more vulnerable than the code that they were doing themselves. And so now you're getting more code that is more flawed into the market. And I think it's just an evolution of where the market is. And then there'll be a reckoning. Some big website will be hacked. And everybody's going to be like, how could that have ever happened? Well, because you didn't give a shit about security at the time you were generating all these great applications.
Yeah, this is why cybersecurity is so hot. So AI, this explains why you're growing like just off the charts. It seems like AI has been, I love the hacker in the box thing, but someone just threw a grenade in this for you and it's nothing but catching up. But you brought up an interesting point there culturally. It's like developers used to just develop back in the day, right? Yeah. Even pre Windows 95, I'm going way back.
Yeah.
And now they've been squeezed by, hey, the UX designers kind of tell them, no, this is how the Snyk thing should look. This is our color palette, all that stuff. Yeah. And now they're getting squeezed on the QA side. It's like, no, change the code. So, but is that making them more productive? Are you, I know it's probably not your total wheelhouse, but, are even your developers going through some changes?
Well, it's actually been, what we've seen at Snyk over the past really 10 years is this concept of shift left, or, they've been increasingly empowering developers to own more of the application. Because as you said, early days, developers would just write software and then shift it over to somebody in application security to test it. And then go back and forth to fix it. And then it would sit in this data center where these, IT would manage this data center in this like blocked off data center, right? And so over the year, and they would release that software every 6 or 9 or 12 months. And so it was just a very slow process. But through this whole digital transformation, everybody started to go faster and faster. Every company started to become a software company in developing. As soon as you have a feature, get it out the door. So now it was like 6 to 9 hours versus 6 to 9 months. And so to do that, we needed to empower developers to own more of this. Like, hey, you can now build an application right on the cloud, right on AWS. And, you need to make sure you're testing quality. You're doing all the things of managing that application. And so this level of empowerment of developers increased. And now the last phase of that was now like, look, you got to build secure software. Like you can't rely on someone else to do it. You keep throwing crap over the fence and I have to go fix it for you. Build it right at the beginning. And so that was always the concept of Snyk. It's just the continuation of the decentralized or in the empowerment of developers. Hey, you guys want to go fast and you want to be agile and you want all the creativity, fine, but you got to own this. And so we ended up sitting in this world between, teaching developers how to build securely and being more security aware. But we also had to go through this period of time where we had to teach security how to be developer aware. Like, how do we do this together? How can we collaborate? And so we became this bridge between these two worlds where, developers want to go faster and faster and faster. And security was like, well, we got to reduce the risk. Like, we got to make sure you guys are doing it the right way. So it's security trusted, developer loved. That was kind of our world. Developers got to love us. We're buried behind the scenes, so we don't slow them down, but we give security what they need. It's just, you're testing this application and you're not releasing it until you've adhered to my policy.
What'd you call it? Shift left?
Shift left, or decentralizing security. Think about it's like all the developers using all these tools, IDEs, and all the software development life cycle. Well, throughout that, we're checking along the way. So whenever you go through any like manufacturing process, you're testing QA as you go through every step of that process. That's what we're doing with security. As you go through, fix it as you go.
And you've kind of migrated. You probably used to work with a lot of little developers. Now you've kind of moved up channel, major enterprise deals. What's the mix look like?
Yeah, right now we're about 70% kind of big enterprise.
Wow.
These are 20, 30, 40, 50,000 developers around the world. Our biggest is just under 50,000. But we do 10. That's incredible. All self-serve. They can come in. We have for 9 years, we have a free version for anybody building an open source project. You can use Snyk for free. So our business started as a freemium to just get all developers to just develop securely. And then when you want to collaborate with 5 or 6 developers together, and you want to integrate into all your tools you're using, that moved from free to paid. And then that's how our business took off. It's like a product-led growth motion, bottoms up, security loved.
No wonder. Yeah, many companies try to go, start with SMB and then go enterprise. Others have gone enterprise, SMB. It's not for the faint of heart.
We kind of came sideways. So we came in sideways where we started with anybody building a new app. Like if you were going to build a new app, you would use us at the start, right? Just build it into your tools that you're building software. It's the build in from the beginning. And so whether you're a small or medium or a large company, if you're building a new one, that's how we started. We were the best in the world. We are the best in the world in cloud native modern apps. And then the more we did, we started to gain success. They started to modernize some of the old stuff. And then can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? And it's kind of grew from there. But it was very much kind of sideways. And now it's definitely, any company that is wants to leverage developers as a competitive advantage. Those are our biggest and best customers.
You threw out a word there, open source, not to get real geeky here, but that is probably the scariest word for what we call CISOs to the uninformed crowd here. Chief Security Innovation Officers probably hate that word the most, but and it's probably the toughest job in the world now. They just keep throwing everything on these guys' plates to run security for these big corporations. And I'm making this up, but it seems like if I was a CISO in charge of all this crap, that's, half of it is compromised every day, maybe not, catastrophically. Do I look for like Sync Inside or a little branded thing that says, hey, this thing's been triple checked from the start. This is the vendor you want to work with.
Yeah.
Not you, but the vendor that, your customer is.
Yeah. There is no longer a world that doesn't exist without open source, right? Because developers don't write software anymore. They leverage open source packets, open source libraries, and they bring all these pieces together to build an app really fast. Because it's like almost everything you're doing has been done before, right? So I can take different pieces and bring it in. Now, before I bring it in, I want to scrub it with Snyk, right? I want to make sure that I'm not going to bring any open source that isn't clean to begin with. And then as I start building it, when you start pulling all these pieces together, I want to check it again. And every time I have an update, I want to check it again. I want to make sure. So you want the benefit of open source code because it allows your developers just to move really, really fast. But you got to do it in a secure way because that code is flawed. And so you scrub it before. So you have certified open source libraries that all your developers can use in a repository where they can now just pull off of these different components, widgets that they can bring in and build their apps. And it's approved, it's certified, it's clean. And that allows developers just to go really, really fast, but build security in from the beginning.
Yeah. The other thing I like about what you have been doing and how you've been rebooting the company is, the build, buy, borrow process to me is one of the fastest ways to grow a company. Many companies disagree with it. They're like, no, we're just doing organic. We're not doing acquisitions. We're not doing massive partnerships. So tell us about the strategy. I think you're up to about 11 acquisitions. So yeah, I'd love to hear about the acquisition strategy as well as the partnering and how it's helped you get to where you are already and where you're going next.
Yeah, when we have a clear vision of where we need to go. We know the different moves that we would make over a 3, 4, or 5 year window, um, uh, and we know what it would take to do this ourselves. And so when we look at a customer problem, an area where we feel is in what we call developer security, which is our world, that is still very fragmented. And we're pulling all these pieces together. We have 6 products today. We have 7, 8, 9 on that we're either building or in some phase of buying and or partnering. And so we are looking at accelerating that vision to reality. How do we quickly go through, um, look at the market and say, is there anybody doing it the way we would do it? And so because we know what it's going to take us, it's going to take us a year to build this product the way that really addresses from a developer set perspective. It's going to be a year. I could buy some team and technology that accelerates that by 9, 12 months. And so if I can do that and find a company that does it our way, which is very different than like we don't buy security tools. We
Right.
buy developer tools and embed security into those tools. And that allows us to build it right into our platform. And so if I can get there fast, I mean, you mentioned we raised $1 billion. I still have over 400 million of it sitting in the bank and I'm break even. So I'm not burning and I'm using that money to constantly look for ways of accelerating our vision in quickly solving customer problems. And that's what they want us to do. Use the resources you have, build, buy, or partner to accelerate your vision faster and solve more of my problems.
And what's been your biggest challenge there? Culturally, having been both on the buy side and the sell side as a CEO, I've struggled with it when you acquire a lot of companies, or when you sell. One of our previous companies we sold to Salesforce, and when you get over $1 billion, it's always tough. But at your phase, you can still mold it. It feels like in terms of keeping a culture going. Is that a good assumption, or has this been a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, culture is definitely a part of the process of looking at
It's not even the
companies
right
to buy.
word anymore. I don't know what word to use. But
I don't know. I still use it because I always say everybody we hire into the company, you're either gonna enhance or detract from my culture. You're either gonna make it better or you're gonna make it worse. And I'm hoping, I say you won't find a jerk at Snyk. We focus on obviously incredible talent, great experience, but also culture fit is a very important side, and that's true with acquisitions too. Would this fit into our culture? Would this fit? And I always say it's like we're not like Netflix or some of these companies that have like it's like the Hunger Games. It's like this very distinct, different culture that it's hard. Just don't be a jerk. Like be a nice person. Like that's it's like care about people and work as a team and collaborate. It's nothing like I never say our culture is like so difficult. Just be a good person and you can fit into our culture. So I don't know. So we do look at that in acquisitions. That is an important part of what we look for. And I always say culture never stays the same. What the culture when we started um, is different than where it is today, and in a good way. I think our culture it's evolved and it's I think it was good when it started, and I think it's really good now. And I always say, everybody said, well, it's the CEO's job to manage culture. It's like, no, it's everybody's job to manage culture. You're coming here. Most people come to Snyk because
Exactly.
they like the people and they like the culture.
Right.
Okay, keep it that way. Like, pass it on. Like, plant a tree you'll never see. It's like move. This is a generational company we're building. So, make it something you're proud of. So when you look back 5 or 10 years from now, your experience at Snyk was the best experience you ever had in your career. And that's my hope.
I like it. I could be the name of this episode. No jerks allowed. The it can be as I didn't know it could be as simple as that. All these years. So I was going to ask you what your leadership style is like, which is also an outdated word, but I think I just heard most of it right there. What else has been led to your success? Like CEOs listening in always want to know.
Yeah. Someone always says, be yourself, be yourself. Who is it? Oscar Wilde. Someone, a quote was, be yourself because someone else is already taken. Just don't ask anybody. Just be normal. Just I don't ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do. I came from nothing. I've worked my way through it. I cut grass. I clean dishes. I've done from the lowest level jobs to to being a CEO, and I treat everybody. We treat each other the same. Whether you're just starting your career or ending your career, everybody is just filling different roles in the company, and so I lead by example. I always go with the hungry, humble, smart. No egos, confident but no egos.
Right.
And we move fast. I set an incredible pace, and I look to the people. I always say my probably one of my least inspirational lines here is, "Don't be the reason I can't go fast." And so it's we move, but I would say the last thing is especially for CEOs, but for any leader, it's talent. It's just finding people, developing people, retaining people. It's just a people business, and your ability to find and recruit and develop and get the most out of people, as you've been a CEO for 6+ companies. People make the difference, and I always say I'm going to find far better people than me to come into this, and I've been fortunate to work with amazing people. Like some people I've worked with for 5 jobs, and some people I've worked for 5 days. And that's what I love about the job, regardless of where you are in the world. It's one team, and we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's a good mix. You're one of the few CEOs that says that you really love your job. I don't hear a lot of them telling me that. On the what do you love about it?
Well, I tell you, it's definitely tested over the
I
past
bet.
year or so. It's the job has changed quite a bit. I mean, I love the people aspect. I mean, working with. I mean, the reason I go through a lot of what I've done, and I've done, a couple, startups. All the way to VMware, general manager of VMware Americas for, I don't know, what was that, 6 billion. So I've
Oh
done
boy,
from 0
that
to
was a
six
tough.
billion,
Yeah.
and everything in between. And so I like the startup world. I came to Snyk almost 6 years ago. We were 2 million, and now we're well over 300 million. Uh, it's because I get to pick and choose the people I work with, and I enjoy that. I surround myself with amazing people, good culture people, and we have fun. We enjoy what we do. Even, I mean, it's not like always up and to the right. It's you surround with people you trust. They trust you. You trust them, and we work through the ups and downs, and we get through challenging times. Um, but um, but we make it fun along the way, and that's why I love what I do.
Yeah, up and to the right has a lot of potholes along the way. People don't see that in the elongated charts. If you zero in on the chart, you're like, oh yeah, that's after we bought that company.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
what have been some of your biggest personal challenges going through this journey as you're looking back, and what can other aspiring CEOs learn from that?
Yeah. I mean, there's
Well,
been
in my case, avoid from that.
yeah. It's I mean, there's been a lot over me. You always learn from the mistakes you make along the way, and and I've made my fair share of mistakes, no question. I remember them. Try not to make the same mistake twice. Like I think I'm pretty good at that. But when you're moving fast, you're going to make mistakes, and I think that's just minimize the blast radius. I would say for me, probably one of the toughest times where CEOs, you worry about everything. You're always worried about not only your team, um, but when you go through challenging times, you worry about the team and their families, and everybody's going through. So coming out of COVID, everybody was battling personal and professional challenges, and I
Right.
think that was probably the hardest time for me because I had children that were always that also struggling coming out of COVID and the anxiety and depression and challenges, and you had a company that you had to, okay, what do you do? Do you scale it back? Do you grow it? And we had to go through our challenges, and when you got them on both ends, I always think you've got your health, you've got your family, you've got your business, your career, and I think you've got a purpose, like kind of a bigger purpose in life, whether it's your church or whatever. I think getting all those pillars going all at once is what I try to. It's kind of the four stools of a chair, four legs of the chair, and when one or two of those are down, that's hard to get through, and those are the times you remember and you work your way through it. And all I could, the part that I think got me through a lot of it is, you know, there's a lot of people going through challenging times, and when you start talking about it, you realize that others are going through similar or battling, and it's not all just about work, and when you see people, it's like no, I told people we went through this challenging time at the company, and I said, ask people how they're doing, and don't say it once. No, really, how are you doing? No,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
Yeah.
It's almost like but it's kind of like the first one is a throwaway. The second one,
Oh,
okay, is he
totally.
really serious?
Yeah.
And the third one is okay, they really mean it, and they want to help. And so I don't know, it just going through the challenging times really gets you to kind of think about the bigger picture, the making sure you're helping people through whether it's professional challenges or personal challenges that's going on in their life that builds a friendship, builds a loyalty, builds helps people get to the next level, whatever that level is for them. Um, and I think if there was one thing I would say would be I would want to be my legacy would be how I've helped people get through those challenging times the right way.
And minimize your blast radius. That's my favorite one. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
remember that from time to time. So as you take that energy, I mean, people having purpose is such a tough thing at work. I mean, I've taught this to students for years. It's like, don't try to find everything in, for a purposeful life through
Yeah.
your work. So
Yeah.
I kind of give them a little exercise about balancing fun and money and impact. And you brought up some of the things outside of
Yeah.
work. So that's how you find your purpose. And so I love that you bring that to the employee or whatever your partner's conversations.
Yeah.
When you see taking this team forward, you've grown from nothing to thousands of people, hundreds of millions of revenue. So you're on this journey to $1 billion in revenue. You'll probably be public someday, though. Who knows? What do you see as your next biggest challenge, and what's the vision? Where do you want to be in the second half of the decade here?
I think, like, as you scale a business, you always go through these periods of incredible growth, then it kind of levels, and incredible growth, and you level. All of these are kind of like pivots or, you know, uh, different phases of the journey. And I think we're in one of those now, this AI, you call it a reboot. I call it a pivot, where, the market is changing so fast
Yeah,
now.
everyone's hair is on fire with AI. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody,
I
and
see
and you never.
Some CEOs are overreacting to that, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the I think the secret. I think nobody wants to be the CEO that was left behind. Nobody wants to be that CEO that couldn't grasp the concept of the AI wave tsunami that's coming at them,
exactly.
and they need to. it is a DNA component. Like for companies, they go through these identity crises, and I think everybody's went through. I want to be a software company, right? I'm a manufacturer. No, we're a software company. Everybody went through. We need to get software as the DNA of the company. I think now every CEO is trying to get AI in the DNA of the company as quickly as we possibly can, so we don't miss the wave or something happens. So I think there's this, these big CEOs and probably executive team, you hope, trying to infuse this sense of urgency into people who are very comfortable doing things the same way. It's like, oh, I missed the window. They didn't teach me that in school. Wait a minute. Right. Like, you're either going to learn AI or you're going to be replaced by AI, because it's coming. And if you're not jumping on it, you're going to miss it. And so all we're trying to do is trying to infuse more awareness of what that tsunami is doing, and what it looks like, and how we as a company need to be on this journey. So it's not a radical, really, it's like we're moving as fast as you can in that direction, and bring everybody along on the journey. We spend a lot of time on training and awareness and making and bringing in tools that allow them to start working in the AI world. But it is a shift. It's a dramatic shift for every company. I use the tsunami. It's coming. You're either going to be ready for it or you're going to be bowled over by it. Your choice.
Yeah, don't make it a shift show.
Yeah.
Peter, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's a great conversation. Appreciate your wisdom.
Nice to spend time with you, Dean. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. You've been listening to Peter McKay on the Reboot Chronicles. This is Dean DeVias. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com.